It's been a while since I've done one of these segments for YouTube, but today, folks, I got some news for you. Got some news for you. Let's go. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but this is some hard-hitting news. This is a special report. The Twitch streamer, Hasan Piker, also known as Jank's nephew, he likes to work out. I don't know if you guys were aware of this, but this guy really likes to work out. According to this YouTube channel, NBC YouTube channel, Stay Tuned, which as you can see has 382,000 subscribers on YouTube. This is NBC News reporting that Hasan Piker likes to work out. Look at this guy. We got Maya Eaglin from NBC News coming to interview him, and yeah, he's going to lift some weights. Look at this guy. Yeah. It's a real guy's guy. Look at this. Yeah. And there was even a news article that NBC News put out the day after this YouTube video. Twitch is transforming into a political arena. Hasan Piker is at the forefront. The longtime streaming platform for online gaming is becoming a destination for Gen Zers and millennials seeking political news and commentary. Again, put up by Maya Eaglin. And even in this article, they thought it was important. This is important information, guys. This guy likes to play basketball. And I know some of you guys might be thinking, oh, well, this is just NBC News. This is from what, September 2024. Who cares? Well, I got some news for you there. It's not just NBC News reporting on this. Even CNN. This was put up on CNN's YouTube channel just 2 months later, November 2024. They put up a video showing how much Hasan Piker likes to work out. Yeah, this is some real news, you guys. Some real news. Look at that, just working out. It's a real guy's guy. Yeah, look at that. And he's even got Donnie O'Sullivan, who I guess it's his job at CNN to just interview some of the worst people in political commentary, like Hasan Piker and Taylor Lorenz. And listen to why they're interested and why this guy works out. Look at this.
I think we've been hearing for weeks now is that the left needs a Joe Rogan.
Yeah, they need a Joe Rogan.
Yeah. I don't think that the Democratic Party can podcast itself out of this issue.
Aw, nuts. Either way, guys, look out. You know, the right, the conservatives, they apparently have Joe Rogan, the meathead podcaster. You know, because he's a real guy's guy. He likes to shoot guns and work out and get in the cage and fight. Rawr. But now the left, they have their own meathead podcaster in Hasan Piker. This guy really, really likes to work out, apparently. And again, this was put up in November. Also, same day, November 27, 2024. Same day this was put up on CNN. Pod Save America had Hasan Piker on their show, November 27, 2024. Pod Save America is a podcast show put up by Obama staffers. So you're thinking like establishment Democrat types. They thought this guy, Hasan Piker, and even in this interview, hour-and-a-half interview, they talk about Hasan Piker's workout routine. Apparently, this is what the news is going on about these days, you guys. Now, I don't know about you guys. Maybe I'm in the minority here. I don't know. I don't really give a crap that this guy likes to work out or lift weights. What I find interesting, and you see this with NBC News' video, they go into his studio. They go into his studio. Look at this. They show all of his decorations and his toys. Got a lot of toys in the background. Look at that. A lot of, you're going to see a lot of communism. A lot of communist Soviet Union aesthetics and iconography. Even Bernie Sanders over there. Yeah, you got the poster in the background. Yeah, look at that. You got a hammer and sickle hat right there over his skull, which I guess is kind of fitting. And then we jump to here. We got, these toys. We got a Lenin doll with the hammer and sickle. You got a bust of Joseph Stalin. You got a little figurine of Fidel Castro. And then on the right, you got what looks to be a mock replica tombstone of Karl Marx, you know, the big-brained thinker who inspired these brutal dictators like Lenin and Stalin and Fidel Castro. This is what I find interesting. And what else I find interesting is you only really get a glimpse of this in some like throwaway B-roll. Like at no point in this video or in this news article is Hasan Piker asked about any of this stuff. At no point in this video is the fact that he may or may not be a communist addressed. Like there was even this recent video clip where Hasan Piker, here, I'll let him explain it for himself. Let's refresh. Apparently I got, yeah, here we go.
I like communism.
Here we go.
Let me explain to you one thing really quickly, okay? I like communism.
I like communism.
I am not afraid of saying that.
Yeah, I'm not afraid. I wouldn't consider myself to be a communist.
I wouldn't consider myself to be a communist. I don't mind communism. I
don't mind it. I like it. But I wouldn't consider myself a communist.
tell you openly that I agree with anti-capitalist sentiments.
Yeah, he's anti-capitalist, but he likes communism, but he's not a communist, you guys. He also has all this iconography. See, but again, none of this is even mentioned. He's never asked about this in the NBC interviews, the CNN interviews, the Pod Save America interviews. This is what I find interesting. You have this famous Twitch streamer who I guess is really big with the cool kids these days, really cool with Gen Z and young men. But he seems interested in what, these brutal dictators? I mean, just the death tolls alone for someone like a Stalin. I think if you were to have a tier ranking of all of the most brutal dictators in human history, at least the 20th century, Joseph Stalin is in the S tier, along with people like Adolf Hitler and Mao Zedong, another communist dictator. But then the numbers you don't really get the details. You don't really get into the weeds of like how horrible these people are. I mean, even including Lenin, you got the reigns of terror, you got the dekulakization campaigns in the Soviet Union. Yeah, you had the reigns of terror, dekulakization efforts, the Gulag prison camp system in the Soviet Union. You have the purges. You have just wide-scale murder and torture. And the famines. And what am I leaving out here? I mean, they're just untold horror. I mean, very well documented horror of what goes on when the students of Karl Marx acquire significant political power. By that, I mean they take over an entire country, not just, acquiring political power in the form of like a city council seat in New York or something, which that is bad enough, not trying to downplay that. But what does it say about big brain Marx over here, who Mr. Piker appears to be a fan of? What does it say about Marx that his students, that he has inspired over the last 150 years, whenever they acquire significant political power, always results in bloodshed and misery and terror and widespread poverty? I mean, that's another thing. You talk about all the people who end up in these horrible prison camps, the gulags, or people who just got executed. Let's not forget the people who managed to survive all of that don't end up in a gulag, don't end up in a re-education center, don't end up against a wall to be shot. The best case scenario is that they get to live their lives in an impoverished country where they're under constant threat and terror of secret police and their tattletale neighbors. I mean, you got Castro in here. I mean, one of the biggest blights on his legacy is the fact that many Cubans, for the better part of a half century, tried to flee Cuba by getting on boats made out of garbage to brave shark-infested waters in hopes of landing up in Miami, Florida. Brutal capitalist America. And again, at no point does Maya Eaglin or Donnie O'Sullivan or the Pod Save America bros, I mean, Even Donnie O'Sullivan, he eventually goes in the guy's house and sees all of his toys, I assume. Sees all of his decorations in his house. I don't know what his excuse is. Maybe you could let the Pod Save America bros off the hook because they didn't go to his house. But that's what I'm wondering is, hey, does Mr. Piker, what does he think of these brutal dictators? Does he think that they're cool? What does he think of Karl Marx and the connection between ideology and implementation and the disaster of communism? I'm sure Mr. Piker, if you were to ask him, I'm sure he has word salad he could toss up to excuse or downplay some of these atrocities, but at least mention it. And on top of that, if a big theme of these reports on Hasan Piker is, yeah, this is the voice of Gen Z and millennials and the forgotten men who were forgotten by the Democratic Party. And the Democrats need a meathead podcaster like Hasan Piker to save the day. What does this say about the people? Because let's run with this. Let's say he is that cool with the younger generations. What explains this? Do they also find communism appealing? Do they think that Lenin is cool? Do they think that Karl Marx is cool? Or can this just be explained by them being naive and wanting to be edgy and rebellious, and eventually they'll get over this and realize how big of knuckleheads they were being? Or do they genuinely believe in this gobbledygook?
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
And if that's the case, what is it? There's even more questions to ask. What does this say about the current education system in America? Is this a failure of the education system? Is this a failure of the current political class, whether Democrat or Republican? You have a lot of middle-of-the-road knuckleheads in politics these days who can't decide if they want to be liberators or economic planning authoritarians. Maybe this is just a simple case of when two or more groups share the same basic fundamental premise, which I think when it comes to communists and socialists and so-called progressives, which Hasan Piker is often presented as, oh, he's just a normal guy. He likes to work out, but he's also a progressive. You know, he's kind of in the same ballpark as an Elizabeth Warren or a Barack Obama. So what they're doing is they're making this guy seem normal, even though he appears to be a big fan of communist dictators.
Oh, you absolutely suck!
Anyways, there's a lot of questions to ask. There's a lot of and yeah, okay, so back to my point about progressives, communists, and socialists. They all share the same basic fundamental premise. And when you have groups that share the same basic fundamental premise, the more consistent advocate, the most radical advocate tends to win out in the end. Maybe it's just an example of that. Maybe that's why Gen Z types are attracted to this kind of malarkey. Either way, these are probably not easy questions to answer. They're probably not that obvious, probably not that straightforward, probably a lot of nuance. Probably a nice homework assignment for professionals. Professionals who work at institutions with a lot of money and resources, who are in the business of explaining things and distributing information. Like, I don't know, NBC News or CNN or maybe even Pod Save America. These would be nice questions for these institutions and the people who work at them, the professionals who work at them, to really answer and dig deep into. Like this guy, he's big with millennials. He's big with young men. He's also probably a communist, and this is just scratching the surface of all the baggage he brings to the table, which we're about to get into. What explains all this? But instead, we just get, hey, he likes to work out. Isn't that nice? He just likes to work out. He's just a normal guy that likes to play basketball and shoot hoops and pump iron. I guess that's what legacy media like NBC News and CNN, I guess that's what they're interested in these days. But then you could say, hey, this was all last year. This was all back in September, late November. You know, didn't someone put out a video about Hasan Piker really bringing in the receipts. Someone like, I don't know, someone like Ethan Klein over at H3H3, who put up a video January 31st, 2025. He put up a video. And I'm not a big fan of Ethan Klein or H3H3, just to be clear. But I really did appreciate this video because I thought Ethan Klein did a wonderful job bringing in the receipts to show that Hasan Piker, kind of a communist, also an apologist and defender for some of the atrocities that the Chinese Communist Party has done over the years. He's a big fan of Russia annexing Crimea. He's also a big fan of terrorist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. And he really brings in the receipts. There was even some stuff in here that I was not really that aware of. Not only that, I think Ethan Klein, he does a good job of reminding people that, like, yeah, this guy kind of goes against a lot of so-called left-wing values. It's also important to note that Ethan Klein, this guy, he's not some nobody. You can see even on YouTube right now, he has 5.6 million subscribers on H3H3. This has been a big podcast for probably the better part of a decade at this point. They've had a lot of high-profile guests over the years. And Ethan Klein, he's also of the left. This isn't like something you just say, well, that's just a right-wing smear job. No, this guy comes at this issue from the left. And he also used to host a show with Mr. Piker. They used to have a podcast together, which I found interesting because I remember when they started doing this show, my thought was, has Ethan Klein lost his goddamn mind? What is he thinking, teaming up with this guy? And this video, he explains how he fell for all this shenanigans, how he overlooked some red flags, pun intended. And not only that, not a nobody, he's of the left, and this did cause a bunch of stirs amongst the internet political community, for lack of better terms. A lot of pro-Hasan people, a lot of anti-Hasan people were giving their takes on this content nuke episode by H3H3 Productions. In other words, point I'm getting at is I don't think legacy media can really ignore this stuff anymore. I mean, maybe last year. I mean, even then there's no excuse because a lot of this stuff has been just publicly available. You don't really get much talk of even the stuff about Hasan Piker saying that America deserved 9/11.
Oh, you absolutely suck!
A lot of other horrible things he's said over the years and his approach to politics. But you could say, you know, maybe these were just kind of minor stories and they didn't really do a lot of heavy lifting, you could say. Didn't do a lot of heavy lifting, which pretty terrible excuse if you're working for a news organization like NBC News or CNN, but especially after someone like Ethan Klein puts out a 2-hour video, expose, really bringing in the receipts and going through to show how corrupt this guy is, how horrible his former podcast host was, Hasan Piker. And when this was put out, I thought, okay, Hasan Piker will probably continue to be a huge presence, for better or worse, in internet political commentary. He'll probably still be able to make a comfortable living for himself, but at the very least, nobody can overlook this stuff anymore. Nobody can overlook this baggage and put out this crap like, hey, he's just a real guy's guy. He's just a dude bro who pumps iron, who wants people to have like free healthcare and stuff. What's wrong with that? Whoa, look out, Joe Rogan.
Oh, you absolutely suck!
But lo and behold, so this was January 31st, 2025. Well, in April of 2025, we got this piece on the New York Times titled, "A Progressive Mind in a Body Made for the Manosphere. Hasan Piker pumps iron, likes weapons and wears pearls. His brand of masculinity has won him many fans online and has been a useful vehicle for his politics." This was put up on April 27th by Jack Crosby, updated May 14th. I guess they're still doing this stuff. This is the big news of the day, folks. Hasan Piker likes to lift weights, and, he's just a progressive. I mean, this is a whole other issue I have. Progressivism. From what I could tell, it's basically a nice sounding word to describe economic fascism, which I've talked about before. But that's what they're going to call them, just progressive, right? Again, just in the same ballpark as like a Gavin Newsom or an Elizabeth Warren, apparently. Not a communist, not an anti-capitalist. Just, a progressive guy. Now, to the credit of Jack Crosby, he actually at one point mentions some of the controversies, like the fact that he did say that America deserved the September 11th attacks. And he's also been criticized by liberal representatives like Richie Torres, who accused Hasan Piker of being anti-Semitic.
Uh-oh, spaghetti-o!
So at least there we get a mention, but still nothing of the communist. I mean, no big deal or anything. It's not like communism is a failed ideology that just, again, always ends up in bloodshed and terror and widespread poverty. And what's frustrating about all of this is that there does seem to be some efforts by some on the left to maybe clean up some messes, maybe take some responsibility, especially since their defeat in 2024 in the presidential election. You have people like Ezra Klein, not to be confused with Ethan Klein. Ezra Klein, he wrote this book called Abundance.
Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book.
Which I've only read a few chapters of so far. I have a lot of disagreements and problems with the book and the way Ezra Klein approaches things. But in the book, Ezra Klein, he's been making the rounds, been doing interviews on this book. He's been pretty honest and straightforward in owning the fact that a lot of feel-good policies that probably sounded good a few decades, maybe a half century ago, have maybe had some undesirable consequences, like increased prices for housing. And Ezra Klein, I mean, I think a lot of people on the left are suddenly discovering for the first time or rediscovering simple laws of economics, like the law of supply and demand. Ezra Klein, he sees, wow, housing prices in places like California and Washington, they're ridiculous. They're ridiculous because there's a lot of demand, not a lot of supply to meet the demand. Why is there not a lot of demand or a lot of supply? Why is there not a lot of supply for housing? Turns out a lot of left-wing environmentalist policies have stifled the ability of people to produce said supply. And of course, this book has caused a big stir amongst people on the left. There are a lot of people who are not on board with this abundance push by people like Ezra Klein. From what I can tell, they tend to be more socialist, environmentalist types who seem more interested in just making it illegal, if not difficult, for people to make a profit. They seem more interested in outlawing selfishness and making profits than they do helping out the poor and the working class that they claim to be champions of. And then you also have people like Jake Tapper. He put out a book that just came out recently called Original Sin. And I think a lot of people, especially people on the right, they roll their eyes at this book. They have this frustration of, now we're getting the story about how Biden, how his health and mental health were in serious decline, and how it was evaded, it was ignored, the press did not want to cover it, and I think a lot of people have this frustration toward Jake Tapper of, hey, buddy, maybe a better time to cover this would have been, 2023, maybe 2024, early 2024 at the earliest. This is like waiting for your house to burn down before you call the fire department. It's like, maybe you should call the fire department when you see some smoke. Maybe hear some fire alarms ringing. Maybe that's the time to call the fire department, not when your house is in ashes. So I get that frustration. But at the same time, it is nice to see Jake Tapper. I have not gotten around to this book yet, but I've listened to some of the interviews he's done with people like Ezra Klein and what's-her-face, the Free Press, Barry Weiss. Yeah, he's talked about how a lot of high-level Democrats covered this up. A lot of people in the media either did not want to cover it or they smeared people who were saying the obvious, calling all this stuff out. Either way, it is nice that people are taking responsibility. I think talking about this issue, Biden's mental and overall health decline during his presidency, that's something that needs to be talked about. Perhaps even go a little further. Anyone who was involved in, keep making sure that Biden runs again and downplaying his health and mental issues over the last few years probably should be disqualified from running for anything, especially the president of the United States in 2028. And even beyond that, you have people like Sam Harris and Bill Maher. They've long been on the effort to get the left off of the obsession over stuff like identity politics and cancel culture, which is good to see. Again, a lot of people on the left, I think, are doing a good job, or at least are making an effort to take some responsibility and clean up some messes. Far from perfect, but at least that's good. They're at least moving in a positive direction, which I like to see. But then there are days when I see all these puff pieces, all these people doing Hasan Piker's laundry, and just want to talk about how he wants to pump iron. And then I see this malarkey and I think to myself, no, the left is still crazy, and apparently they haven't learned a goddamn thing.